I saw my wife with someone at the Softplay Centre. The fluorescent lights of FunZone hummed, a soundtrack to the shrieks of delighted, sticky children. Leo, all elbows and knees, wriggled out of my grasp and dived headfirst into the ball pit. He surfaced, grinning, a plastic ball stuck to his forehead. I smiled back, but the gesture felt forced. I hadn't felt truly happy in weeks, maybe months, ever since the layoff. Sarah was doing great. Promotion, new clients, the whole 9 yards. I was here, at FunZone on a Tuesday afternoon, trying to ignore the gnawing feeling of inadequacy that had taken root in my gut. I scanned the room, half-heartedly looking for a clean-ish table. That's when I saw her. Sarah, across the room near the climbing frame. At first, I just registered the familiar curve of her shoulders, the way her hair caught the light. Then I saw the man. He was tall, maybe a few years older than me, with a neatly trimmed beard and a confident air. I didn't recognize him, but it wasn't just that. It was the way they were talking. The way Sarah was laughing, a bright, unrestrained laugh I hadn't heard in what felt like an eternity. And the way he was touching her arm lightly, possessively. My stomach churned. I told myself I was being ridiculous. It was probably just a colleague. But the seed of doubt was planted, a tiny, poisonous thing. I pulled out my phone, pretending to check emails, and angled it to get a picture. The image was blurry, but it captured the moment. His hand on her arm, her smiling face tilted towards him, too close, too intimate. I pocketed the phone, my heart pounding. I watched them for another few minutes, the cheerful chaos of the soft play suddenly feeling oppressive. He said something and she leaned in, her head almost touching his. He laughed, a deep, resonant sound. I felt a wave of nausea. When Sarah finally turned and spotted me, her smile faltered for a fraction of a second. Just a flicker, but I saw it. "Mark, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice a little too bright. "Leo wanted to come," I said, trying to sound casual. "Who's this?" "Oh, this is David. He's a colleague from work." She said it quickly, almost dismissively. David extended a hand. "Nice to meet you, Mark. Sarah's told me a lot about you." His grip was firm, his eyes direct. He was handsome, successful looking. Everything I wasn't at that moment. Likewise, I mumbled, shaking his hand. The whole thing felt staged, rehearsed. The rest of the afternoon was a blur. We left FunZone together, the four of us, Sarah and David walking slightly ahead, talking about some work project. I trailed behind with Leo, the blurry picture burning a hole in my pocket. That night, after Leo was asleep, I confronted her. "Who is he, Sarah? Really?" She sighed, running a hand through her hair. "Mark, you're being paranoid. He's just a colleague. We were discussing a new marketing campaign. He was touching your arm. You were laughing like you haven't laughed with me in years." "Don't be ridiculous," she said, her voice sharp. "You're just insecure because you're not working. David is just a friend." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to. But the image of her face, tilted towards him, kept replaying in my mind. I tried to drop it, to act normal. But I couldn't. The doubt festered, eating away at me. I started watching her, scrutinizing her every move. I checked her phone when she was in the shower, finding nothing. I followed her after work a couple of times, but she just went to the office. Emily, my sister, a lawyer with a no-nonsense attitude, told me I was being an idiot. If you suspect something, gather evidence. Don't just sit around stewing. Daniel, my best friend, freshly divorced after his wife's affair, was even less helpful. They all say they're just friends until they're not. Trust me, mate, you're better off out of it. I bumped into Zara, a stay-at-home mom I'd seen at FunZone a few times at the local coffee shop. We were talking about the joys of toddler tantrums when she said, "Oh, I saw your wife the other day having coffee with a man. Looked very cozy." My blood ran cold. "Where?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Just at that little place near the office park. The one with the outdoor seating." She smiled, oblivious. "Anyway, must dash. Leo's probably painting the dog by now." The coffee tasted like ash. I started having trouble sleeping. My attempts to find a new job were half-hearted. I was too consumed by suspicion. I was becoming obsessed. I suggested couples therapy. Sarah agreed, but she seemed reluctant, almost bored. The therapist, Dr. Evans, was pleasant enough, but the sessions felt stilted, unnatural. Sarah would talk about work stress, about the pressure she was under. I would talk about my feelings of inadequacy, about my fear of losing her, but we never really talked about us. One day, I found a receipt in Sarah's purse, an expensive restaurant. The date was a Tuesday, the night Sarah had told me she was working late. "This," I said, holding up the receipt. "What's this?" "It was a business lunch," she said, not meeting my eyes, "with a client." "A business lunch in the evening?" "Okay, fine, it was dinner. We were discussing a deal." "What's the big deal?" The big deal was that I didn't believe her. I started driving by her office late at night just to see if her car was there. One night it was. I parked across the street and waited. and waited. Hours passed. I saw cleaning staff leaving, security guards making their rounds, but no Sarah, no David. My anxiety was through the roof. I was a mess. I was barely eating, barely sleeping. I was snapping at Leo, who didn't deserve it. I needed to know the truth. I called Kevin, an old colleague from the architecture firm. He'd worked with Sarah on a joint project a few years back. Hey Kevin, it's Mark. Listen, I was wondering if you knew anything about Sarah's relationship with this guy, David. There was a long pause. David, from her office. I wouldn't know anything about that, mate. Sorry. He sounded evasive. I knew he was lying. That night I had a dream. I was standing in the FunZone, but it was empty, silent. Sarah was there, holding hands with David. They were laughing, whispering. I walked towards them, my fists clenched. I grabbed David by the collar and punched him, again and again until his face was a bloody pulp. Sarah screamed, then turned to me, her eyes filled with hatred. I woke up in a cold sweat, my heart pounding. The next morning, I decided I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to know one way or another. I called Sarah's workplace. Good morning, Sarah Thompson's office. How can I help you? Hi, I'm calling from Direct Deliveries. We have a package for Sarah Thompson. We need someone to sign for it. Oh, I think she and David are both out of the office today. They've gone to some conference out of town. The receptionist's words hit me like a physical blow. Out of town. Together. Without thinking, I grabbed my car keys and raced out of the house. I knew which hotel they were likely to be staying at. It was a fancy place just outside of town, often used for corporate events. The drive was a blur. My hands were shaking. My head was pounding. I pictured them together. In a hotel room, laughing, touching. I parked the car and walked into the hotel lobby. I scanned the reception area, my heart hammering in my chest, and then I saw them. They were checking in, standing close together, their heads bent over the registration form. Sarah was smiling, a genuine smile, the kind she used to give me. I couldn't breathe. I felt a surge of rage, a white-hot fury that threatened to consume me. Sarah, I shouted, my voice cracking. She turned, her face paling as she saw me. David stiffened beside her. Mark, what are you doing here? She stammered. What am I doing here? What are you doing here, Sarah? With him? Mark, please don't make a scene. A scene? You're having an affair, Sarah. That's the scene he tried to placate me. Mark, let's talk about this somewhere else, away from people. I just glared at him. I stepped closer to Sarah. Is it true? Sarah's eyes welled with tears. She opened her mouth to speak, then closed it again. Finally, she whispered, yes. The word hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. It's true. I repeated, my voice barely audible. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I'm so sorry, Mark. Sorry, you're sorry. You've been lying to me for months. You've been sneaking around behind my back. David stepped forward. Look, mate, this is between Sarah and you. I'm going to go. And with that, he turned and walked away, leaving Sarah standing there alone, facing my wrath. I felt numb. The rage had dissipated, leaving behind a hollow ache. I stared at Sarah, at the woman I had loved, the woman I had built my life with. How could you? I asked, my voice breaking. How could you do this to me? To Leo, she sobbed. I don't know, Mark. I don't know. I turned and walked out of the hotel, leaving her standing there alone in the lobby. I drove back to the house, packed a bag for myself and Leo, and took him to my sister's. Sarah arrived later that evening, her eyes red and swollen. She begged me to forgive her. She said it was a mistake, that she loved me, that she loved Leo. I wanted to believe her. I desperately wanted to, but the trust was gone, shattered. Emily, ever the pragmatist, advised me to see a lawyer. Daniel told me to kick her to the curb. I didn't know what to do. We started individual therapy. I needed to figure out how I felt and what I wanted. We also went to couples therapy, but it was a disaster. We just ended up arguing, rehashing the same old grievances. Sarah blamed my unemployment, my distance, her own loneliness. I acknowledged my shortcomings, but I couldn't excuse her betrayal. I found out the affair had been going on for months, that David had told Sarah he was leaving his wife for her, that she had actually believed him. Now we live in the same house, but we're not really together. We sleep in separate rooms. We try to co-parent Leo, but it's strained, awkward. I got a new job, but I don't feel the same about it. The passion is gone. Last night, I saw Sarah looking at her phone, a small smile playing on her lips. I couldn't tell if she was texting David. I don't know if she's still in contact with him. I look at Leo, asleep in his bed, and I know I have to make a decision. Do I try to rebuild my marriage, knowing that the trust may never fully return? Or do I cut my losses and start over for my sake and for Leo's? I don't know the answer. I'm standing at the window, staring out at the dark street. The streetlights cast long, distorted shadows. My life feels like one of those shadows, distorted and uncertain. The memory of seeing her with him at the Softplay is burned into my brain. It's a constant reminder of what I've lost, what I've endured. And the question remains, can I ever truly forgive her? Is this really the end? The answer, I fear, is more complicated than I ever imagined.